Gareth A. Davies, the background, as per usual, looks a bit different. You might as well, you know what you might as well do? Can I give you some advice? You might as well rent out your place. You might as well just put it up for rent, Airbnb, make some money, and do what you do, which is basically live out of a suitcase around the world.
Well, listen, I love it that you're also an estate agent today as well, and as well as presenter, host, and smiling, handsome man that you are. Yes, on the move. World Cup starting. It's going a little bit quiet. I'm on world tour again. Saudi crap.
You were in Dubai though a couple of days ago, right? Did I not see that? Did I not see Kugan Cassius taking the presenter role? You were there as well?
Well, I was supposed to be co-presenter with Kugan Cassius as lead presenter, but he quickly decided that he wasn't going to be the lead presenter, and I was. We did a very interesting show, Battle Promotions, Immortal Reign, for the promoter Jamie Cormack out in Dubai. Yep, couple of 3 days out there doing that. Some very interesting 17 nations on that card there were, believe it or not. And I do think the Middle East, you know this yourself, the Middle East, it literally is the middle of the world for all the boxers, because they reach the kind of Indian and Pakistani markets, which are quite big. We had a Jordanian, an Israeli, an Emirati, a Ugandan, a Tanzanian, Africa, the Far East, the Middle East. It's very interesting what's going on there. Had a lot of fun on the night. Shannon Courtney was there, Sky Nicholson. I think Hamza Shiraz and Amir Khan might have made an appearance on the night. Jordan McCann, the rapper and former gang member who's actor and all those things, who's fighting on Misfits this weekend. It was a very busy night. Very often on those small shows, like in Nigeria, you're busier than you are on DAZN. Yeah. Because you're almost like a golden Swiss Army knife, doing everything from interviews to presenting to jumping around in 3 different locations. It was a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
All right, let's talk about the fight card in Bournemouth over the weekend. Chris Billam-Smith making his Zuffa debut. So strange to see Dana White ringside and just in the middle. Yeah, it's just strange. I couldn't quite work it out. It's almost as though I was expecting to see Ben Shalom just because I saw CBS, but we'll talk about Ben Shalom a bit later with this new deal for Boxer and DAZN. But it was a wild main event, a wild co-main event as well. Chris Billam-Smith beating Ryan Rizicki, a tough, gritty Canadian who you wouldn't want to see in a dark alley, and Chev Clark coming from 2 knockdowns to stop Jack Massey. On Chris Billam-Smith, I mean, I don't know if you've been able to watch the fight or catch up with it. It was brutal. Like, honestly, brutal for both. So in the end, obviously, Ryan Rizicki said no more, and his corner were right to pull him. But, I mean, Chris Billam-Smith can't take many of those fights as well.
Well, it was a real test. I mean, people were telling me I'd got the wrong pick. I went for Billam-Smith in round 7, 8, 9 for the betting agent that I work for, as you know. And I thought it would be... Rizicki was always going to be a test of what Chris Billam-Smith's got left. And he was a test for what he's got left. And Billam-Smith has plenty left. And Rizicki was the perfect style for him. In fact, I watched the highlights first of all and thought, wow, there's some decent highlights there. And what I went back and watched the fight, as you say, 7th round stoppage, and realised that the whole fight was like that. A very, very brutal encounter in which Billam-Smith... It's exactly what Billam-Smith loves. Someone coming at him. And Rizicki at one point had his hands down in an exchange where he was almost saying, go on, hit me, because once you've stopped and your arms are tired, I'll come back at you. And he did, until in the end, that battery level just went to 0 and it was over. Thoroughly entertaining, kind of thing that Dana White, as you rightly mentioned, looks a little bit of an anachronism in boxing. In the BIC, doing that UFC style, who's got the first question type of press conference and we'll get into it, as you will rightly say, where he spoke about a lot of things. One of his pet subjects, Dana White and other promoters, that there's a war going on. I hats off to Billam-Smith, thoroughly entertaining fighter who has probably got 3 or 4 fights left in his career and will go down as a guy that we remember in great battles, Ade.
Indeed. As for Dana and Zuffa, I mean, look, sometimes when you put these fights on, you just don't know how they're going to play out, right? Sometimes you can put two warriors in with each other and it turns out to be a dud. This is a very good debut for them in the UK. All of a sudden, I mean, it's going everywhere. It's going viral. I've seen clips of this everywhere on TikTok, everything about this fight. That's exactly what you want on your debut on UK soil.
Yeah, it was a kind of UFC style fight, wasn't it? One of those. It's like a 5-round title fight in the UFC where both men give it their all, and the fans go crazy. And whatever they had in there, 3,500 or whatever at the BIC, maybe what was it, 5,000 at the BIC. It's a banked arena. It's very entertaining in there. The noise and acoustics are amazing. It was, like you say, it was the perfect. The same as the Chev Clark and Jack Massey fight that had drama in it as well. It was the same kind of atmosphere that the UFC create at their MMA event. So hats off to them. They managed to pull off, I thought, a thoroughly entertaining event for their debut in the UK, and they will do really well. They've got the ability. They've got the wherewithal. They've got Dana White. He's very watchable as well. Everything that Dana does, you want to see. And I thought he added to the show in all the things he was saying, not least, Ade, that stuff about being a promoter, that will be the promoter on Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua, which I find fascinating and I think hints at what may be to come, and which we will probably discuss today.
Yeah, we certainly will. All right, let's hear from the victor, Chris Billam-Smith. Big win, and now he says he's ready to step in with Jai Opetaia next.
I know there's been talk of Jai talking about other fights, so I'm not entirely sure what yet. I've got a little break planned, a little holiday, bit of rest, but on that holiday is my S&C team are out there running a little training camp for some footballers, so I'll be out there training with them anyway. So I'm going to be staying in shape and ready for whatever's next, and if that's Jai Opetaia, then fantastic.
That should be the fight next, isn't it? I mean, it seems pretty obvious, if I'm honest with you. Jai having been signed to Zuffa, one of their first big major signings. Chris Billam-Smith now with Zuffa. They've circled each other for the last 12 to 18 months. Jai's always wanted that Chris Billam-Smith fight. He's come on to talkSPORT many a time speaking about it, almost with anger that it hasn't been made. Surely now that's what they just line up. I don't know where. I'm guessing it would probably be in the UK. Chris does shift some tickets, or maybe they go to the States and do it at the soulless Apex. Surely you need a proper crowd, and you do it somewhere in the UK, potentially and preferably South Coast.
Well, I think it's, if you put it on in America, it's a little bit like a drop landing in the ocean. Whereas if you put it here, it's going to make a splash, to continue the analogy. It's going to make a splash. People love Jai Opetaia in our part of the world. Chris Billam-Smith just coming off that. I'm going to call it a fantastic victory and a fantastic performance. I've got to say, if he fights like that against Jai Opetaia, he's going to get knocked out. Which I don't mean that disrespectfully to Chris. I think that was the best way for him to fight Rizicki. But as I say, perfectly made for him. I think they should put it on in Bournemouth again. That would be a best place to do it, or a small venue in London, depending on who else they've got on the card. It's a good fight. It's an entertaining fight, but the power with which Jai Opetaia fights people, and that left hand of his that creates angles, it's going to be a very tough night for Chris Billam-Smith. What I would say is, he could prove us wrong as well, because he's got that ability, and he is a stalwart and a yeoman, and he will get involved in a tear-up. He's an incredible character. His chin is extraordinary, but I do fear for him a little bit against Jai Opetaia.
Yeah, let's see. Hopefully we get that fight announced sooner rather than later. Co-main event was a crazy one as well. Jack Massey, who looked like a heavyweight in the ring, honestly massive, compared to Chev Clark, put Chev down twice in round 4. Chev was, I think, 5 seconds away from his career maybe being over. That would have been 3 defeats in his last 4, 35. Chev Clark as well. All of a sudden, he finds something from somewhere to stay in the fight, come back in round 5, wins round 6, stop Jack Massey in round 7. A yo-yo of a fight, and the Chev Clark story keeps on going on. It was an incredible come-from-behind victory.
Yeah, and I ran into Jack Massey the other day. He's a great character. In fact, I was talking to Jack about whether he'd ever get involved in bare-knuckle boxing, because he's one of those characters. I'm thinking maybe Chev Clark would be good involved in bare-knuckle, because he has got heavy hands, and his heavy hands got him out of trouble. Even though he likes the debate that he's more of a boxer than a puncher, it really proved how his power can get him out of trouble. The great thing for Chev is that we've got a ton of good cruiserweights in the UK. And like you say, at 35, could have been 1 and 3 in his last 4 that I think you were saying, which I agree with, looking at his records. He rescued his career there.
Yeah, he certainly did. Good win for Chev. And Jack will be back as well. I just wonder now I'm not a fan of the bridger weight. I just find it strange. But I do think the size of him, maybe trying to boil down to 200 pounds is a bit of a problem. Maybe he does need to look at maybe that bridgerweight division. He's fought at heavyweight. Let's not forget he fought Joseph Parker 4 years ago at heavyweight, and he didn't look too bad at that weight. So maybe there's a conversation to be had about moving up in weight class. All right, we've teased it a little bit. Let's hear from Dana White, who was speaking to the media after, as he always does in these little scrums, and he once again spoke about being the lead promoter for Anthony Joshua versus Tyson Fury.
Have they announced where that fight is?
No.
I know where it is.
Where is it? If you are the lead promoter for the show, are they involved? Would they be part of the promotion? Are they at the fights?
I just told this young lady here, watch what happens over the next 30 days.
They specifically said that the contract states that Zuffa Boxing cannot promote.
Do you think that I would publicly lie?
Well, that's what.
And then look like a fucking idiot in front of everybody?
So do you believe that?
Do you believe that I would?
I don't know if you would.
What would be the point of that? I was lying, everybody. I got you, right? What would be the point of that?
Are they going to look silly?
Call Eddie right now and ask him if he knows where the fight is.
Are they going to look silly once?
Call Eddie and ask him who negotiated the contract for the fight. Wasn't him. You got any other questions?
This isn't going away, is it? He clearly knows something that maybe Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren don't know about this. Ultimately, though, isn't it just a case of the Ring Magazine or the promoter and anyone else that steps up and has the podium is really just almost being hired to do that job? Like, isn't the promoter Turkey Al Sheikh and Ring Magazine, and the rest are just almost voice pieces?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've got to look at the nuance here, that he continues to repeat this. He continues to be asked the question. He continues to give the same answer and he's digging the trench deeper every time. I think, like you say, look at the relationships that there are. Seller have a 60% stake in Zuffa Boxing. So TKO Holdings are in cahoots. They're in business with Salah and the Saudi Arabians, however long that lasts. I don't know how long the deal is together. But obviously Paramount put up $500 million for 5 years. So they've got $100 million a year to spend on the boxing events. Dana's just had his first event in the UK. He's put rubber stamping the fact he's on Sky now. And it went a little bit under the radar, I've got to say, just leading into the event, but obviously not since. I think we don't necessarily, or we can't necessarily say, which you just mentioned, that he knows something that Frank Warren and Eddie Hearn don't know, but because maybe they do know. And maybe there's more to it than meets the eye, and that they're not revealing it at the moment. And I'd add Spencer Brown into that mix, Tyson Fury's manager as well, because obviously he's very influential around Tyson Fury. We know that Fury and Joshua have done separate deals for that fight with the Saudi Arabians in their last, whatever it is, 2 or 3 fight deal of their career at this point. I wonder as well whether, we're talking at the moment. I think last week we touched on, does Fury and Joshua end up as a 2-fight deal with one fight at Wembley next spring and one somewhere warm before that? Is it going to be in Riyadh? Is it going to be in Jeddah? Is it going to be in America? Does that hint at Dana White's involvement somewhere in America? Does it hint that he's getting the thing over the line with Vegas, for example? So I think we have to look at all those possibilities. If Turki Al-Sheikh says he's going to be the headline promoter, there's not a lot they can do about it. Spencer Brown was the headline promoter at the last big event at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, wasn't he, for Fury and Makhmudov? So, but everyone was still involved. So it's one of those things. It's a mix and match scenario at the moment. It doesn't delight me that Dana White is going to be the lead promoter. But as he said, why would I lie to you right now? Go and ask Eddie who put the deal together. That's the cryptic bit that I don't really understand, because he's not putting a deal together for Anthony Joshua. But it might be something to do with where it is rather than what it is.
Maybe. And also you've got I guess, with Eddie and Frank, I mean, there will be a debate who is lead promoter out of those two. Obviously, both of them have the behemoths, don't they? Both have Tyson Fury and AJ. So both of them, I guess, would want to be, and rightly so, want to be lead promoter in the biggest British fight of all time. You can't have two be lead promoter of those two. So maybe it is a case of, okay, neither of you can do it because you're not going to agree who's going to do it unless one does one event, as you say, and the other does the other. Let's have someone who isn't a part of it do it. A bit like he did Canelo Crawford. I know it's slightly different because Canelo and Crawford don't have sort of lead promoters around them, but I just wonder if it's maybe a case of it couldn't be, and this is just me throwing it out, it couldn't be decided between Frank and Eddie who lead promotes. So you've got someone from the outside looking in doing it.
I mean, look at it. I think, I don't know more than I'm trying to indicate here, but let's say, for example, that it is going to take place in America, and it's also involving the comeback fight of Terence Crawford, let's say, who's fighting for Zuffa Boxing on the same card. Let's just say. So we've got Zuffa.
One second. Where's that come from? Have you just said you wait?
From my brain. From my brain.
Okay.
I'm doing an imagining.
You're going to start some stuff now. You're going to start some stuff.
But just to be absolutely clear, but I'm looking at why the scenario, not what the scenario, why the scenario will be that. Let's say that Turki Al-Sheikh and the Saudi Arabians have put up the money to get Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua together on the big card. So, but the second one is, let's say, is back at Wembley. But let's say on that card, co-main or main event as well, is Terence Crawford fighting another. Let's say maybe it's David Benavidez, maybe it's Dimitri Bivol. Would you watch Crawford and Bivol? It's a fascinating fight, isn't it? I'm just inventing here. I'm inventing. So he's re-signed, and he signed with Zuffa Boxing. Zuffa Boxing's on the poster as well. Queensbury's on the poster. Matchroom's on the poster. Ben Shalom's got a couple of fighters that are on there as well. Adam Azim is on the undercard. It could be the biggest card we've ever seen in the world, but involves every promoter there ever was. And it just so happens that Terence Crawford's come back. He's re-signed. He's with Zuffa Boxing. He's getting 85, 90 million for the fight. And he's meeting Dimitri Bivol in the hardest test he's ever gone. There's a scenario where it might happen with Dana as the lead promoter.
Oh, okay. I was wondering where we were going with it. I was like, okay, what does this mean for Dana? I didn't understand.
So and Dana White's the lead promoter because Terence signs for Zuffa Boxing.
I just think the lead promoter is who Turki says is the lead promoter.
Yeah.
That's it.
As well.
Ultimately, so whoever Turki says, I want you to lead promote, that's it. I'm putting the money up for this fight. I decide who promotes it.
And I think that's been hinted at by Frank Warren, by Eddie Hearn, by Spencer Brown, that, I do worry, and it's a genuine worry about Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua fighting outdoors in the UK in late October. I really do. And we've got the long range weather forecast is for an awful winter as well. A late autumn.
I worry about Tyson Fury versus Anthony Joshua fighting in the UK, the biggest British fight of all time, and it not being Frank and Eddie as the lead promoter.
Completely agree.
I think that's just wrong. Doesn't sit well with me. I think it's a mistake. Like, as good as Dana is, and I do think Dana's a good promoter, he won't know the backstories. Someone will be feeding him information. It won't be natural. He won't know the backstories. He hasn't got the history of working with both fighters. He would have just literally been given the golden goose and, okay, sell it. And I just don't see how that's right at all. I just don't see it.
Yeah, and also it just hints at why there's this back and forth promotional row the entire time with Eddie Hearn. I mean, it's not Frank Warren. It's not Ben Shalom and Dana White. It's not Frank Warren and Dana White. It really is Eddie Hearn cannot stop himself from going at Dana White the whole time and Dana White back at Eddie Hearn. I mean, it's every couple of days, isn't it? It's every time they're in a public forum. Everyone keeps asking them the question and they keep going at each other, and it's highly entertaining. And they both.
I just need the time when they're both in the same space.
Exactly.
Right now, they're doing it from miles away from each other. I need both of them to be in the same space, and I need to see if the energy remains the same. That's what I need to see.
Yeah, and does it kick off? Do they actually let their hands go?
Lovely stuff. All right, let's talk Katie Taylor, who has said that fulfilling a long-held dream of hers fighting at Croke Park will be the perfect way to end her decorated career after it was confirmed that she will take on Flora Pilley at the Dublin venue on the 5th of September. She said at the fight announcement that this was her chance to give back to the Irish fans.
I've often been given praise over these last few years for raising the sport of female boxing, but that was only possible because the Irish people actually bought into it. And the Irish people have proven themselves the best fans in the world time and time again. And I get a chance to put on one last performance in this amazing career. It's beyond my wildest dreams, and I'm going to end on a high. I'm going to end on a career best performance, and that's my plan.
Finally, Gareth, Eddie and Brian Peters and the crew have got it done. She has her fight. Surprised about who it was against. I mean, there were so many names being thrown, a lot of them MMA names, by the way. I mean, I heard about Ronda Rousey remember that one a few months ago? Holly Holm, but she lost on the weekend to Stephanie Han. Maybe, I don't know, Amanda Serrano 4, Sandy Ryan, Chantel Cameron. And we get someone that we didn't really know. I didn't really know who this Flora Pilley was, but I guess it's not about her opponent. It's about Katie Taylor.
Yeah, and I don't think many people know Flora Pilley outside the Moselle Valley, where she's had her last 3 fights. And, what is it, a dozen odd fights, 10 fights, 2 stoppages on her record, undefeated. I think they've picked someone here. I think she's the IBO champion. It's undisputed again, of course. It's super
light.
Super lightweight, 140 pounds, light welterweight, super lightweight. Light welterweight, let's call it what it really was at the beginning and should remain. The 10 stone title that she's really, really kind of fulfilled and made her own over the last decade. Sandy Ryan's pregnant, isn't she? I believe that's why she stepped away. Katie was the emeritus. I think so. I think she's pregnant.
It's news to me. I didn't know.
I think she is. I hope that's right.
So do I.
I hope her family knows.
Yeah. I hope the father knows.
But I think she stepped aside from the WBC title. But Katie was the emeritus champion, so I think the WBC will be on the line as well. So it is an undisputed crown. I think it's all about Katie Taylor. I mean, it's literally what I said years ago after the Olympics in 2012 when Katie, kind of lightning rod that she has, started to change things in women's boxing. And she is that pioneer. She is that rod finder, that lightning rod for the sport. She could have fought Minnie Mouse then. And this is, she's It's just been confirmed, by the way, by our producer that she is pregnant with relief. So he doesn't have to edit that out, by the way. No, I had read that she was pregnant. I would have said it if she wasn't. I think the key is this is like a Minnie Mouse type opponent. It's all about the Katie Taylor show. Obviously, there was talk at one point of Fury and Joshua being on this card as well, but September's too early. Great congratulations to her, to Brian Peters, who shed some tears at the press conference, of course. Brian, I've known many, many, many years. It will be a very emotional send-off. 83,000 plus is the capacity at the venue. It's a very hard thing to get over the line because it's in the houses and it's only reserved for certain things. It's going to be an amazing night. And if there's one event for atmosphere you want to be at this year, if you were to choose a top three, that has to be in the top one, because that is going to be the atmosphere of the year, because they will bring the rafters down there and they will sing and they'll dance and they'll chant and they'll cry and they'll drink and they'll carry her on their shoulders all the way into Dublin city centre and back to Bray, her hometown, afterwards. It's been a remarkable career. It's gone on a little too long in my view, but I'm glad Katie Taylor is finally hanging up the gloves.
Yeah, there's been so many moments when she could have called it quits, and you felt like that was the perfect moment, the first fight against Amanda at MSG. I mean, you can't go out better than that. Then the second fight, and then the third fight, and then Chantel Cameron rematch. I mean, there's been so many where, okay, that's enough, stop. This is the moment. And here we are, we have another moment. And there was a part of me that was slightly disappointed because I did want a big name. I wanted a big send-off for her. But ultimately, I've kind of just realigned my thoughts. And I'm like, okay, well, I just want a send-off for her. It doesn't have to be the superstar name in the opposing corner. Ultimately, it's an unbeaten fighter. It's a title. She should win. That being said, I mean, she is 39 now, Katie. She has slowed down a little bit. You never know, right? You never know. This is Flora Peely's chance of a lifetime, but I don't think she's gonna shock the world. 82,000 is a lot. I mean, think of sort of in terms of bums on seats. I mean, is it an easy sell? I've asked so many of my Irish friends. I mean, is this a guaranteed sellout? Do they need to kind of stock it with names, or is it just almost like going to be a carnival weekend and it's just going to be pretty easy to sell this thing out?
Well, as we know, the Fighting Irish is what they are. And, you know, if you've got your Pierce O'Leary's on the card and your...
Which they don't.
No. If your Lewis Crockers could have been on the card. I think it doesn't matter.
I'm hearing Paddy Donovan's going to be on the card.
Paddy Donovan, great. I think... It's not announced yet, the undercard, is it, really?
No.
So, officially. So, I don't think it'll matter, Ade, because Katie Taylor is sporting royalty in Ireland, and they support their own. They support them in a very strong, very powerful way. It will be, I think it's 83 is the capacity, not 82, but I'm not going to argue over splitting hairs here. It will be full. There's no question about it. Come rain, come shine, come snow, whatever happens, that stadium will be full, because there's no way that they will let Katie Taylor down, because she has literally given her life to the sport. If you go back to, and you've got to remember that, you know, she played for Ireland as a senior in football, in soccer as well, as we're calling it at the moment, as we will for the next couple of months in America. You'll be out there. You'll be calling it soccer by the time you come back. She was a formidable sportswoman, and you know, the 6 world championships as an amateur, the Olympic gold. She's really represented her country, not just herself. She is adored in Ireland, and you know, it won't just be 83,000 fans. It will be all the celebrities in Ireland will be there as well. It's going to be an amazing night. Book your ticket now, is what I say, because they will run out.
I really hope that they get Amanda Serrano out there. I hope they get Clarissa Shields out there. I hope there's a part where they're all in the ring together, the 3 sort of quotes, if you like, of this era, if not of boxing in its entirety. I hope they just kind of almost raise, because that's been the debate, isn't it? Is it Clarissa? Is it? I know it's Katie's night, and we've got to make sure it's Katie's night. But it would be good to see a nice send-off between her and Amanda, and her and Clarissa have that photo opportunity, because that's been the debate, isn't it? Clarissa,
she's the GWOAT.
Clarissa, okay.
Well, let's have that debate. She is the GWOAT for me. She is the GWOAT. Katie Taylor. She doesn't make the same noise as Clarissa. She doesn't slap Alicia Baumgardner like Clarissa does. She doesn't make the noise. She hasn't got the backstory like Clarissa does out of Flint, Michigan. You know, this extraordinary young woman who won Olympic gold at 16 and then won it again at 20 and then took over the world and has won, whatever it is, 6 weight divisions. She's gone up to win a world title at heavyweight as well. Katie hasn't done that. But what she has done in terms of records, in terms of, when will 2 women ever equal 65 million viewers live on the Mike Tyson Jake Paul undercard? 65 million at the time watched that second fight with Amanda Serrano. And you're right to point out, we were both there, I think, for the first fight at Madison Square Garden. Billie Jean King, resonant women from politics, female senators, the first women to do so many things, pilots, to captain or to oversee warships. I'm picking these things out of midair here, but it was a night, it was a week in which women's aspirations and the level of what women have done and can do now was celebrated in that first Madison Square Garden event. It was the first time 1 million people had watched the event live. I think it was on DAZN, the first one. They got 1 million audience. So there's and we haven't said it. The way she carries herself, the way she resonates as a role model, all of those things. She hasn't got the personality that Clarissa's got, but in terms of everything she's done as the model sports person, I think she's the GWOAT of this era.
Yeah, it's difficult for me to disagree. I do think Clarissa's already come for my head 10 times or so. Yeah, every time I've said
you've had a slap from her, have you?
Well, I've had a few slaps from Clarissa. But I've always said that I think Katie's the GWOAT. I just feel like Katie's level of opponent, and that's not Clarissa's fault, because ultimately, as you get a bit higher, over 168, there aren't just that many opponents that you can fight. Katie's almost been in that sweet spot of just weight. So there's so many big names that she can fight. If Clarissa had the opportunity, maybe she could have beaten those girls, but Katie has, and I guess that's all it comes down to, just names on the CV, and Katie just has way more bigger names on her CV.
But also she's had fights that have really entertained. I mean, the 3 Amanda Serrano fights were totally entertaining. The fights with Chantel Cameron were really powerfully put together. I'm forgetting the Belgian policewoman's name now.
Delphine Passoon.
Delphine Passoon, those two fights were extraordinary as well. She's been in some real wars, whereas
she's been in some
Alicia has dominated more, hasn't she? She hasn't been in many equal
Clarissa.
contests. Clarissa
Start
hasn't,
again.
no.
Yeah.
Because Clarissa hasn't been in many of those kind of fights. They're not memorable. The fights, she performed brilliantly against Savannah Marshall, but she hasn't been in those fights where you go, wow, we need another one here. We need another fight. Katie's got some memorable nights, memorable fights.
Yeah, she certainly has, and the most memorable one will be the final one. Again, September 5th, Croke Park. Tickets, I believe, go on sale next week. As Gareth said, get your tickets quickly. They will sell that 82,000 or 83. Who's arguing over 1,000 seat venue? September 5th, and it will be live on DAZN. All right, you're listening to Fighter Extra on talkSPORT 2. Up next, we're going to discuss a return to the ring for the juggernaut Joe Joyce, who's been out the ring for 15 months. All right.
What else are we doing in this section? UFC card, Lerone Richards and Albert Ramirez in Montreal. What else was it?
Everything.
Oh, boxer, yeah. Which is an odd one, yeah. When do you go to cover the soccer?
Fly out Thursday morning, early Thursday.
Okay, so let's do a little tiny bit of that at the end. Then we're saying goodbye to you to America for 6 weeks, 7 weeks. Yeah.
Yep. All right.
Miami, yeah.
Yes, Miami. No, New York. New York, Boston,
okay.
Toronto, Philly. I can't remember where else.
Are you lead presenting or not?
Yeah, lead presenting.
Good.
Yeah, lead presenting. Very excited. Very, 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 very. All right, should we do this?
Yeah. Can you tell me who's going to win it at the end of this show, please, as well?
Yes, Will. I'll give you my prediction.
And I'll give you my pick.
Oh, okay. There you go.
I'm going France. I'm going France. So
people forget that you used to cover football. I think people don't remember.
I'm going for France, baby.
That's where I was going to go.
Well, that's fine. We're both going for France.
We're both going France. Allez les bleus. Allez les bleus. Okay. Welcome back. You're listening to Find Out Extra on talkSPORT 2. Ade Oladipo, Gareth, Ade Davies. All right, let's wrap up the show, Gareth. So many little stories doing the rounds. One of the surprise ones, and we've been asking about him because he's not been a fixture in the heavyweight division for feels like a couple of years now, and that's Joyce. Obviously, last time we saw him in the ring was against Filip Hrgović. I remember actually asking him in the ring, is that it? Are you going to retire? Because there's always this concern about Joyce. And because he's been out the ring so long, you maybe felt like that was a true statement. He's back. He goes to Russia. He takes on Artem Sluzdenkov. It's on the undercard of Murat Gassiev versus Tony Yoka. The Juggernaut is back.
The Juggernaut is back, but we haven't seen the Juggernaut with much petrol in the engine for a while. 1-4 in his last 5. The 2 defeats to Zhile Zhang, the kind of Pyrrhic victory, if you call it that. He did win against Cash Ali, but didn't look great. And then the defeats to Filip Hrgović and Derek Chisora. It's not a nice resume since 2023. He's 41. I'm a bit down on him here. He's 41 in September.
Wow.
Yeah, 41 in September. So, is Joe Joyce already yesterday's man is the headline for me. What does this do for me now? What does this do for you now? What does this do for boxing fans now? In Moscow, on a timeline against a Russian that, you pronounced his name, but I don't even know if you said it right because I don't even know him, Hopefully, they put Joe up against someone who he can batter and run over with some petrol in the engine. He's been out a really long time. I wondered whether he'd call it a day. And we all love Joe Joyce. But I just wonder, if a victory here, does that mean he's going to face Moses Tauma next? Or is he going to face someone who's going to roll over him? Is he going to be there as a name for someone? That's what I fear for him at the moment in his career. And let's not forget, this is a guy that should have won Olympic gold against Tony Yoka, who's on that card, obviously, I think. Won, I think, a world championship silver or bronze as well. Very highly decorated Commonwealth Games boxer, and who had a victory over Daniel Dubois. And look where he is right now, potentially behind Alexander Usyk, the number 2 or number 3 in the world. So it's a weird one for Joe and with Joe.
What is that then? And by the way, yes, Suslenkov unbeaten. So clearly Joe's been sent over there to put a name on this guy's CV. Obviously, almost to fast track this guy as opposed to Joe causing the upset, which could happen. We'll see. But I mean, when you're fighting an unbeaten Russian in Russia, unless you knock him out, it's going to be very, very difficult. When you read it off like that, Olympic silver medalist, again, was running through a lot of fighters, as you say, stopped Daniel Dubois. Is that just boxing or is that career mismanagement? Like, what's happened here? Is it just bad matchups? The Zhile Zhang one was always questioned, but at the time, let's not forget, everyone thought Joe couldn't be detonated. Who's to blame here? Or is it just, it happens?
Listen, go back. The Daniel Dubois victory, the Joseph Parker stoppage, the Carlos Takam win. You know, and we're talking 5 years ago here with some of these fights. Joe, do you not remember how mouth-watering the prospect of Joe Joyce versus Deontay Wilder was at one point? You know, the immovable object against the irresistible force. That was in the days when the market economy was the market economy and was what it was meritocratically. That was a 30 million fight at the time. It literally was an irresistible fight. And then suddenly Joe ran into 2 fights against Zhile Zhang where he upended him. And it was the wrong moment for him to face Zhile Zhang, who then took that kind of mantle of the killer of the heavyweight division. And then he got upended, of course, by Ajit Kabayel, who's the guy who people say he could now go in against Alexander Usyk. That spiritually destructive mantle, that the heavyweight butchery is has passed on like a chalice, and he's not drinking from that cup, and he hasn't for 3 years.
Yeah, it is a shame, but let's see what he can do. Who knows? There might be a couple more big fights, and as you say, if he can get a victory in Russia, all of a sudden he comes back to the UK and he's set up for a couple more big fights. He is now linked up with Sugar Hill Stewart as well, so he's trying something different. So let's get behind the big man and see what he can do in Russia. Talking about big men fighting away from home, Lerone Richards, light heavyweight fight, got robbed, and he did get robbed against Albert Ramirez. I watched the fight. I scored it 9-3 to Richards, at best 8-4. So for him to lose by split decision, a couple of the judges gave it 116, 112 to Ramirez. You can understand why Lerone Richards, who's doesn't really like to talk, pretty quiet, but even he did a video. Dave Caldwell, his trainer's not been happy. He's been tweeting like a madman ever since, and rightly so. They are going to appeal it, and I think there's a good chance it could be, they could get the rematch. That's probably what's going to happen. But it was a bit of a disgrace what's happened to Lerone Richards here.
Yeah, I mean, you put it very well. I mean, you put it very accurately. I don't think you missed a beat there. I haven't managed to watch the entire fight back. David Caldwell was in touch with me, full disclosure. And I did look at all the social media outpouring. I had just landed, or I had been working in Dubai, as you mentioned earlier, at that event. So I missed out. I'd flown out there, arrived late, saw the outrage. I've met Lerone many times, and he's not a man given. He's a very quiet man, a gentleman fighter. To see him put the video out afterwards and appeal about his family and how his future's been curtailed, and this was his dream. It was the WBA regular title, by the way, so it's one of their lesser titles, but nonetheless, you can claim you've won a world title. So it's at least a belt. I think they'll win the appeal. I haven't watched the entire fight back. I'm not.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. You'll never get those 36 minutes back. Honestly, sorry, 30. Is it 30? Yeah. I no disrespect to Lerone and to Albert Ramirez. I watched it because of how bad the scorecards were, and it was an awful fight. It was an awful fight. Don't do it. Don't watch it.
So just raising that point, were there swing rounds in this bout then? Or do you feel that because it was in Montreal and Albert Ramirez is like a home fighter and it was in Montreal, that the judges saw something in him, swayed by the crowd and all of that kind of stuff? Or was it clear that Lerone had won 8 of those 4 rounds? Clear
rounds, honestly. And Lerone doesn't fight in a style where he makes it obvious he's won rounds, but the rounds were obviously Lerone's rounds.
But what I did see afterwards, I tell you what I did see, the most telling thing was Ramirez looked like he thought he'd lost it at the end. And it was one of those moments, Ade, sorry to interrupt you, where one guy walked away with his hands in the air, clearly knowing he'd won, and the other guy looked clearly like he'd lost. And I think Lerone even mentioned in his video that the other side had apologised to him. He will get the rematch and he'll get his chance to do it again. The one upside from this is look what happened for Jack Catterall when he lost to Josh Taylor, it actually projected a very quiet man into people's consciousness a little more. And he's become more famous since then. At this point, we must mention, I saw Josh Taylor at Ricky Hatton's Festival of Love at the weekend. It was amazing to see that outpouring. Last we missed mentioning that on this week's show.
Yeah, it's a great point, actually. Everyone was there at the AO Arena on Sunday. Fantastic event for the Ricky Hatton Foundation. It was so nice to see his young son on the stage as well with Bugsy Malone, just a spitting image of Ricky. It's incredible. So yeah, very well put. Very well put indeed. But look, good luck to Lerone. Hopefully he does win the appeal. It's been a tough road for Lerone since he won that fight against Carlos Gongora, which feels like a few years back. Then he lost. I remember him getting chinned, didn't he? I remember who put him down. Someone knocked him out anyway, and it kind of just derailed him a little bit. This would have been the kickstart to his career. So hopefully they win the appeal. They can go back to Canada and they can get the job done. Let's finally wrap on the UFC White House card on Sunday. We don't really talk MMA on the show as much, considering that you are an MMA guru who covered the sport for over 2 decades. This is a big card. I mean, Alex Pereira bidding to become a free weight world champion. And I look at him at heavyweight and I'm like, how on earth did you ever make middleweight? Like, how is that even possible? Like, it's crazy. He takes on Cyril Gane for the heavyweight championship of the world. I'm guessing Tom Aspinall will be somewhere watching it, hoping and praying to God that he can somehow get back in there, yes. Although Eddie San leave the UFC, and I'm like, no, don't leave the UFC. Get your fights. But it's going to be a spectacle. It really is. They're going to fight on the White House lawn. It's going to be great. Like, I don't watch MMA as much as I used to, but I'm going to watch this one.
Yeah, 250 years of freedom from us, isn't it, by the way? 1776. The English are coming, as they said, the Boston Tea Party, all of that stuff. Freedom from the English 250 years ago is what they're celebrating, obviously in America, to put the historical backdrop on it. It's a very unique scenario because Donald Trump, who obviously was a boxing promoter at one point around the time of Holyfield and Mike Tyson, worked with Affliction in MMA, and obviously has given this massive support to Dana White and Zuffa in the UFC when they were coming through. Dana White's become a friend of Donald Trump, and that's how that axis has enabled this to happen. It's going to look spectacular. They've put a lot of planning into it. I think the event is costing the UFC 40 million. There's a kind of sub-political debate about whether it should be happening on the White House lawn. The one thing, I mean, I'd love to be there. I'm not going to be there. You're going to be in America. You might get a little sneaky invite. You never know.
Be nice if I might just message Dana and say, look, Dana, look, I'm here. You know
I'm here. I'm arriving on Thursday for the Soccer World Cup, where you are for 5.5 weeks. Vive la France! I think in the tournament, I think they win it.
Yes.
PSG showing that against my team Arsenal.
Go on, look at you and your football knowledge, Gareth. Go on, look at him.
I tell you what, I've got to say this. One of the big debates in the last week I've enjoyed on talkSPORT was Piers Morgan and the love-in almost really between Piers Morgan and the fake attrition between he and Simon Jordan. It was very watchable, and I know Piers going back many years. Obviously, I know Simon, but it's the Arsenal thing's very interesting. I've got to ask you this as we finish the show.
Go ahead.
Why is that? We don't get it in boxing, but why is there so much flagrant hatred of other teams doing well from other fans of other clubs, the tribalism in football? Because we don't really get that in boxing.
Yeah, well, it's only really creeped through with AJ fans and Fury fans. There's definitely a divide.
Yes.
That's one of the first. It's the first time I've really experienced it in boxing. And you're either a Fury fan or an AJ fan, which makes the fight so big. But football's so just tribalism, isn't it? As you used the correct word to describe it. You can't have your football rival win. I was watching PSG Arsenal as a Liverpool fan, and I was praying to God that PSG won that. I transformed into a PSG supporter, and I'm not ashamed of admitting it. I was hate watching. That's what they called it, hate watching. I was hate watching Arsenal, praying to God they lose. And they did. And I was as happy about Arsenal losing as I have been about Liverpool winning.
So weird.
It's
so
awful.
Weird.
I don't know what I became. It was a disgrace. But
so you're going to be watching or working on soccer for the next 5 weeks, as it's called in America.
I will be. My first game is Brazil-Morocco on the 13th, pitch side. And then I just float around, go to all different places around the US and Canada, and I think maybe Mexico as well. So it's going to be fun. Obviously, we'll still be doing the shows.
Yeah, we'll still catch up on a Tuesday.
We'll still catch up on a Tuesday. There's
I'll
always
be on my
world
world
tour.
tour.
Yeah, we've got Xander Zayas, Boots Ennis, we've got Ryan Garner coming up. There's still fights happening, just not as big. I think boxing's smart to take a bit of a backward step. Don't compete with the World Cup. Don't put on events at the same time. But no, it should be fun. I look forward to it. And I look forward, Gareth, to speaking to you next week as well. Thank you, my man. How long are you staying out of the country for? Are you doing this for tax purposes or are you really...
Yeah, let's not delve into tax purposes. No, I'm here for a couple of weeks. I'm doing my little tour in Southeast Asia. I'll probably go to Cambodia and Vietnam shortly as well. I'll be back for I've got a BKB bare knuckle event in Cardiff. Lee Selby is making his debut as the headliner. And then I'm back, and then I'm going to go back on tour because, as you say, boxing's quite quiet for the next few weeks. But I'm nipping over to LA the week of the final. Actually, I'm going to be in LA, so hopefully I will take some live football in while I'm in America as well.
Cool beans. Reach out to me. Your boy will be there. I'll see what I can do in terms of getting you pitch side for some tickets. All right. Thank you very much. Remember, if you've missed any of the show, you can listen to it as always as a podcast. Just find it under the Fight Night banner on the talkSPORT app, on YouTube, or wherever you get your podcast from. And we will be back next week.